How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Parents vs. Gaming. This is episode 18. It is July 25th, 2021. I can't believe we're going this far. Today we're going to be talking about the Valve Steam Deck, whether we think it's a competitor to the Nintendo Switch, what should you compare it to, kind of what's going on. Outside of that, I think we're going to introduce the panel. I want to welcome the beautiful, ever-entertaining Jay Noller in the middle, Mr. U.S. Bomber.
Thank you. I know.
You know, she was ready. She was like, "They're bringing me back. I've arrived. I'm
Look,
here."
Every other time you've introduced me, it's something along those lines.
No, but we do all the way on the end. For those of you that stick around and hang out with us, whether you're listening on the podcast or in the chat live with us, we would love to welcome back. She's finally made the move to somewhere in Michigan, a place I don't recognize,
or Florida, or
maybe Florida. It's confusing for people. You've confused people on the internet, I think. But we would love to bring back Miss Jordan, Alexis Jordan 98, as you can find her on Twitch. Jordan, how are you?
I'm doing much better now. How are you guys?
We're amazing. We're super excited to have you back. I know Jay is excited because he was tired of talking so much.
Oh, right.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, right.
I don't know if that's true. I don't want to start off with a lie. My soapbox is sitting right here next to me. I am ready to jump on it.
Listen,
still.
Jordan, we need you here to buffer him because his soapbox has been huge.
I get it. I understand.
It's this.
I'll jump on mine too.
I don't know if you've noticed, but it has been the last couple of weeks as Xbox and PC gaming have really started to take a leap. These Sony fanboys have really started to latch out at us. You know, they're very jealous. They're mad that certain games are exclusive. Oh, it's not fair. They said that game was coming to PlayStation. Yada yada yada. Oh, I can't believe they're putting our PlayStation exclusive on PC 2 years later when no one on PlayStation is playing it anymore. Let the guys make some money over there, Jay. Come on. These developers want to eat too.
I mean, it's supposed to be an exclusive. I think that's kind of wrong. But, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But before, as I'm giving Jay a hard time, I didn't prep you guys on this topic, but I do want to know, because we've talked about certain issues on this podcast, on this channel. We've got Mrs. Shadow jumping in tonight. Thank you, Mrs. Shadow, for joining in. Hopefully you have some hot takes in the chat for us. But something that's just come up this week, you guys may have noticed. A huge kind of coming out on what's going on over at Activision with the sexual harassment charge, where actually the state of California is filing it against Activision Blizzard. You're hearing this frat boy mentality. And something that I kind of was interested to see what your guys' take is. You see a lot of people on, whether it's Twitter, the internet, how can we help make change? Is it, I honestly, the answer probably isn't just stop buying the games. People aren't going to stop. There's too many people that aren't even in the know that are buying Activision Blizzard games that have no idea what's going on in everyday games media or the new game coming out or any of that. So, Jay, I'm going to kick it to you first before we hear from Jordan. What's kind of your take on the state of the industry, and what do you think should happen over at Activision and how they should handle it?
So most people don't realize this. I'm a huge Saturday Night Live fan. And a couple of years ago, when there was a lot of the Me Too and everything was just kind of getting brought to the forefront, was Cecily Strong came on Weekend Update and did like a sketch. And it always, I always kind of think about it as we laugh, but it's so ridiculous. Don't show your penis. Don't be an asshole. Like, don't be... Oh, see, dang it. You know what? James, I am sorry. I promised you I was going to calm it down. I wasn't going to swear. I was going to try to make this... Look, I've got my bubbly water. I've got, it's just supposed to be like a chill, relaxing thing.
You made it 4.5 minutes.
But damn it.
I'm proud of you for those 4 minutes.
Seriously, how much of a not nice person do you have to be in a position of power and leadership and not sexually harass somebody? It's not that hard. Like, and for me, it's not even a fine line. It's a pretty wide damn chasm between being a professional, being courteous, and being a decent damn human being, and driving a coworker to suicide. And I'm going to break my promise here right now. Like, if you're an accomplice and you look the other way, you're just as liable as the piece of shit who actually did it. I'll try to stop from here on out. But I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that we're still dealing with this. It's 2021. How much more do we have to say, be nice to each other and be kind to each other?
I think we lost Jay for a hot second, Jordan.
Oh.
Jay's probably still going to be talking when he comes back, but I kind of want to. I kind of want to get your take a little bit. I'm sure he's cutting in and out, I think. But Jay, we lost you a little bit, so we'll come back to you. But Jordan, what is your take? Kind of just hearing this on as it's starting to trickle out in the news. You know, how do you think they should go about handling it?
I mean, it's so sad that it's already happened. So the way of handling it now, I'm sure they're doing the best that they can. But like Jay was saying, like any sort of accomplice, like unfortunately, when someone's your friend or someone's superior, a lot of people tend to look the other way. And I think it's about taking it into our own hands in our everyday jobs and everyday life to make sure that we're the person that stands up and stands out for the people that we care about, and even strangers. You know what I mean? Even just like that coworker that, you see them a little bit uncomfortable, you make sure to make everyone else aware of the situation as well.
Activision is kind of under the heat right now with Call of Duty Warzone. The cheating is, I play a lot of Warzone. I'll be the first to admit, I love the game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's still great. But the cheating is probably at an all-time high right now. Now I'm probably running into a cheater every other game. For a casual, I'm a 1.1 KD. I'm right in the middle of the average. So for me to constantly be running into cheaters, I can only imagine, these pros and these top streamers that are 2.5, 3.0 KDs that are really good. Of course, they're running into them consistently all the time. And that's what Activision's been in the news for, and now they're hit with this. And it's like, listen, I want you to fix your game, but man, you really got to take a step back and look at your entire company. And I think they need to make sweeping changes. I think this is something that they cannot sweep this under the rug. I would expect some execs to step down. I would expect some high-end managers to step down and walk away. And something has to come of it. Whether or not this is something that's settled, I'm not exactly sure the legalities. I didn't look too far into it. I kind of didn't really want to know more than what we hear. But exactly how the lawsuit's working and who's in control. But it's funny, Destiny's a real popular game, and Bungie used to be under the Activision umbrella. And they were so worried about the casual fan not knowing that they're not with Activision anymore. And they released a statement either today or yesterday already saying, hey, we are not part of Activision Blizzard anymore, but we want everyone to know we are not a perfect company. I'm sure things have happened, but we try to meet these things going forward. We don't hide and we don't turn. We meet these head forward and we deal with them in the appropriate manner. And as far as I know, to date, Bungie hasn't had any issues like this to the point where, they're trying to sweep something under the rug. But honestly, it's a real shame. You got to look at, Activision Blizzard's one of the biggest companies, whether it's them or EA, and, we're constantly criticizing these companies for the work environment with making the developers work too many hours. CD Projekt Red is a great example. Constant lies. They're not making them work too hard. Bethesda is also, I'm excited for Starfield to come, but there's a huge hidden truth back there that these developers have been forced to work in this crunch for not just a month, not just 2 months, for 3-4 months, and they finally decided to delay the game. I've heard rumor that the game is kind of ready. It's in a better state than Cyberpunk was when Cyberpunk released. But
well, thank God.
These developers
That's a
just
pretty low bar.
Yeah, it's a low bar.
But these developers are they're being treated unfairly. And then to hear on the flip side, not only are they getting pushed for work hours, on the female side of things, you see this sexual harassment. I don't want to just limit to the females. I'm sure some males it's been both ways, but this, you kind of see this is the main front of it, and it's just a shame that it sounds like we're still a long way to go to have some of the best developers in gaming making games and making decisions simply because of this frat boy mentality, are holding probably some of the best people in lower positions, taking advantage of them. They're never getting to showcase their talents. That's kind of the sad side that I look at it as well, is some of us that really care and want to help support this stuff, we're missing out just because of the way the industry is going and it's being treated. And if it's happening there, we say this all the time, I highly doubt Activision Blizzard is this, only one. You heard rumors from Riot not too long ago, and the people, I can't remember that off the top of my head, they made Detroit Become Human, had a very similar. So to act like this may or may not happen at a place like some of the EA studios and stuff like that, like, it would be naive, because a lot of these developers are rotating to different teams, and if you brought an environment from one, you probably brought it to another, and that's a shame. And I hope the industry cleans itself up.
I think there's a lot of different companies that probably have this issue, not just the gaming industry.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
The only thing is that we're just lucky enough to be in the era where this is being taken seriously, and people are hopefully going to be held accountable for it. You know what I mean? And making people aware is no longer shameful for any victims. Or at least it shouldn't be. So. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked in places before where I worked for a international resort, and I've seen the so-called anonymous number for sexual harassment where you're supposed to be able to call and it's completely anonymous. The next day, the person that was being accused is being told who accused them, when they accused them, what happened. So then they end up going and confronting the person, and it makes anyone else going forward. Why would you? Why would you speak up? It's almost like you're the one being shamed for speaking out. And I have a feeling very similar instances is probably what has gone on over at Activision. Would be obviously I don't have any hot takes. I don't know. I do know a couple people personally that do work there. They say it is. They say I will just say this. I can't say their names. I won't say who they are. But they definitely said what we are reading publicly isn't even close to what really happens. And that's so sad. Disheartening, really.
Well, just kind of a note to everyone that's out there that's listening or watching. First of all, thank you. But second of all, remember that human resources is not your friend when it comes to stuff like this. Human resources is not there for the employees. Human resources is there for the company. There's no other reason for human resources to exist other than to protect the company, which is why they are the ones that do all of the sexual harassment training, which apparently nobody at Activision Blizzard went to or paid attention to. Or they do all of these other things. But I, kind of tag it on to what you said about your friends. Like, there has to be people that have left. If this is the tip of the iceberg, and I promise you it's the tip of the iceberg, because if the state of California is bringing the suit, it's been so serious for so long that a DA in California on the California roster is paying attention to it. So this isn't a lone whistleblower where somebody's saying it's me versus her, and and it's that me versus them thing. They've done their due diligence, and this is the type of lawsuit that is brought when they've already got the company dead to rights. Because they're not able to push back, they're not able to do anything. And so for the state of California, the district attorney to be able to bring it, that means that their human resources department's been covering up for this for years. And there's probably some payouts, there's probably some NDAs, there's probably some culpability for previous people, because stuff like this doesn't happen. A cube crawl where alcohol's involved, getting poured on female staff and stuff, that's not something that you just sit around one day and you're like, hey, this is a great idea. And, that's almost a symptom, not a cause, or the root disease. It's just the symptom of the cancer that's going on inside the company. And you can't work like that. If you're a guy and you're on the frat side, you're not doing what you should be doing, which is producing good content, being a professional, handling yourself, moving up in your career. And as a female, Jesus, dude, you couldn't ask for a more hostile work environment, or people just trying to get along, just to get in with the boys. And James, as you said, just trying to get a promotion and better their career. And honestly, I'd like to see more female leadership inside of the gaming industry so we can stop with the giant boobs on the characters and the female-based quests. And dude, don't get me wrong, I love myself some Princess Peach, but can we get someone else in peril? Like, Ted from accounting. Ted from accounting can't swing a sword either. Like, let's throw him up in a tower and have Miss Jordan here put on, a badass warrior outfit and go kick some ass and go rescue James the accountant from the tower.
I mean, that's why I liked Mario 2, the American version of Super Mario 2. You could play as all the different characters. And Peach was always the best because she could float. She was always the best. But no, I hear what you're saying, and it really is a shame. And I like how you kind of brought up the HR side of things. And I do have a couple friends that have worked HR at different companies, especially the resort company. And I will tell you this: when I have a feeling Jay would say this, would agree with me. When Jay says HR is not your friend, he's not saying that person that is HR doesn't want to be a good person. It's that even if they want to do their job, sometimes they're really strapped by the way companies are run. Mm-hmm. I've had some of my better friends leave companies as an HR person because they felt it was horrible. Like, they wanted to help employees and they could not. Or something that they thought should have been discreet and anonymous, they were forced to let somebody know in very similar situations like this. So then they end up quitting. So, and I'm sure, like I said, Jay agrees, is that for anyone that is HR, we're not attacking anyone individually as a person. It's just the way some of these corporations run, and it's a real shame. And I don't know, I'm not naive enough to sit here and think, even if California slams Activision Blizzard to the wall, how much is it really going to change? Not just like Jordan says, not just in this industry, but in these bigger companies completely. It's almost like each one has to have a problem before it changes. I mean, the Riot stuff was 2 years ago, and that's in Activision's backyard, and they still didn't get the hint. Like, hey, wow, that's going on over there. Maybe we should clean up our act as well.
And I think that speaks to the hubris of the leadership. Like, oh, Riot, what a bunch of idiots. We'll never get caught. And that's kind of that thing. Or, that also could also show, like, how silent this type of hostile work environment is for everyone. Because, it all starts with that one dude who makes a joke. Everyone else laughs. One person gets upset, and it just starts snowballing to, like I said, cube crawls and getting coworkers pregnant. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of steps in between there. It's not like someone makes an off-color joke and then all of a sudden, we're having to, get California involved. But that's just kind of that slow process on how it happens. And then if you have a human resources department who is geared up to be able to do stuff like that. James, you and I work together. How many times did we hear stories at work? We're like, oh, damn, I hope that doesn't get in the news. Yeah. And you wouldn't say anything. You wouldn't say anything because you're like, damn, I don't want to deal with the fallout from that. You just kind of look the other way.
So there's a lot of people that doesn't make them bad people, or that they're even contributing. And I know, like you say, if you turn a blind eye, you're kind of guilty too. But sometimes you're just like, you already know if you say something, they're just going to find a way to get rid of you. That's to me, that's the scariest part. Anyone that does want to speak up, you're basically kicking yourself out the door. And I think
you're being a martyr, but at the same time, I think that if enough people did it, they wouldn't have a choice.
Oh, correct. I mean? Yeah, no, I agree. I just don't want to, I want to be very careful. I don't want to feel like that we're calling out anybody, because it is, I've been in those situations where I have spoken up, and I will be the first to tell you it cost me my job. And did it change? Did they do anything? Nope. And I've been the person that's turned my head, and it made me feel sick to my stomach forever. And not just sexual harassment, it could be other things as well. But it's sometimes it's this umbrella that kind of engulfs the situation, and I really don't know what the best way to force companies to change, other than completely redoing a leadership. I mean, IGN, for those that know who they are, kind of like I would say the closest thing to like the ESPN of the gaming world and entertainment world, they have definitely had some issues over the years where they did what Jordan would suggest. They all stuck together. They walked out. it forced the company to make changes. They had, they're under, IGN is under a parent company that didn't agree with some of their views when it came to the whole Israel conflict that was going on in Palestine and stuff. And just because their political views didn't align with their writers, they were forcing them to take things off Twitter, off their personal Twitter. And it took the entire company to be like, just because you have those views, you want us to have these, we're writers, are supposed to have this freedom, and then you're taking it away from us. So you can either let us continue with our freedom, or we will not work here anymore. And they almost lost their, and it took that. And IGN did change their, I'm sure they released their statement. I'm sure it was very PR script and said what it had to say to move on. But it did take an entire company. And for places like Activision, whether it's Activision, Riot Games, EA, it would take probably, everything to change. I mean, you look at, in my opinion, we can all sit here. You look at Call of Duty is very, very basic. We can all sit here and talk about put an anti-cheat. They're never going to do it. You know when they would do it? When everyone at Raven walks out the door and says, you know what? We'll come back and keep working on this game when you're ready to give us the money for an anti-cheat. And whether it's something like, and it's going to take people in the industry to make changes, whether it's about a game or about sexual harassment in the industry. And I think that's super sad, unfortunately, but I just don't know where else it would start. I think Jordan's hit the nail on the head. That's really the only way to make a difference.
And that's so unfortunate.
Okay, so seriously, AAA monster game developers, how many are out there? Activision Blizzard, EA. Who else would you say is top?
I mean, besides
top dogs,
the Sony, and you're not counting the Sony and Xbox studios.
We'll count those. We'll count those.
You've got
four.
Naughty Dog. Well, because they all have major developers underneath them. Bethesda's one alone. Naughty Dog's one alone. Sony Santa Monica.
Well, and my point is it's super tough to say something when you're a young, up-and-coming developer, project lead, artist, animator. Because it's not, because when you're talking about a development studio like that, there's so many different things that it touches. Sound mixer. Just anything that you could possibly come up with. You've got 5 that you would say are just resume killers. If you have this on your resume, you can go anywhere. That's really tough because now you've got to yeah. It was what started my career was I started at Disney. And as soon as I put Disney on my resume, everyone goes, well, tell me about this. Congratulations, here's your job. And it's because I was working in an entertainment and travel company that is number one, hands down, no questions asked. But what do you do if you're the subject of harassment? Do you go, oh, well, I'm just going to tough it out for another year. I'm going to let these guys be, I'm cleaning up my language, not nice people. And, and I'm just going to deal with it for 2 years. I'm going to make my bones, and then I'm going to go somewhere else where I know that they appreciate me.
I'm sure.
And
I'm
so,
sure that's how people dealt with it.
Yeah, so you're shortening the cycle of your top talent because they leave, and so and that's just a terrible thing because now you've got the brain drain. That's probably how EA become this corrupt empire, is because all the people that gave us stuff left. Because of the cultures that are instilled at the top of the leadership. Exactly.
Well, does anyone in chat or Jordan J, do you guys have? I don't want to harp on this too long. I just wanted to touch on it. I know it's kind of current, and anyone listening, I don't want them to think we're completely oblivious to the news that's going on and insensitive. So I definitely wanted to make sure, especially for some of our listeners or viewers that don't follow some of the mainstream gaming news. They might not know this is going on, and then you've kind of got to make a decision. Do you want to buy games from that company, or do you want to back off? But just know they are far from being the only one, and again, I don't know if one person saying they're not going to buy a game at companies like this is, we always say hurt them with their wallet, but I don't know. They develop
right, but I think if more people cared about it, instead of thinking, well, I'm not going to do anything, my
for sure, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's a toss up with that. I personally won't be supporting them with my wallet. It just doesn't really you know. But
Yeah.
So, Jordan, I have a question, and this is you can totally answer or tell me, damn it, stop doing it with the unprompted questions before the show. Um, what are your thoughts? Do you think, because we deal with a lot of James and I don't. I have a face for radio, so if you hear my
shut
voice,
up.
I appreciate it. Don't look for it. You do not. And so James and I don't experience people when James is streaming of comments about him physically and everything that kind of goes along with that. Have you experienced that in your own Twitch streams of people? And do you think that this is maybe the developers are just a symptom of the gaming
Culture.
personality as a whole? Yeah, I mean, these are really big questions. So if you say, you know what, dude, that's an entire another episode, go for it. But
Jay,
I just kind of like to get your thoughts on it.
so personally, I've been really lucky to like get very minimal comments like that. Like sometimes I'll get like the "Oh, you're so pretty," and I don't really think anyone would jump into a guy's stream and be like, "Oh, you're so handsome."
Well, listen,
But
slow down.
that doesn't.
I mean, that
I've
would be
had
nice.
four-
I'm just saying, if you want to throw it out there every once in a while, guys like to be called pretty too.
Hey! I came in and I was like, Jay, you look so nice. It's nice to see your face again. Anyways, regardless, I did have a guy, because, I have people trying to be my friends all the time. I did have a guy, he checked out like my TikTok and my Twitch and stuff. And he goes, "Oh, wow, so you're a titty streamer." And he saw like one of my streams and I was like, for your information, I wear whatever the F I want on my stream. One day I was
Thank you for
literally
keeping it
bundled
clean.
up with like 3 hoodies and a blanket on me while I was streaming, and then the next day I was wearing the outfit that I wore out on stream. I am allowed, because I'm a person, to wear whatever I want on my stream, and I don't care what you have to think or what anybody thinks about me. But because I was a female, it was just, and he saw like one clip of me with like a little low-cut t-shirt, all of a sudden I was labeled as a titty streamer. So that was like unfortunate. Obviously I didn't keep that person in my life, but yeah, I don't think that it's even the gaming industry though, Jay. It doesn't, like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with gaming in general. I think it has to do with our society. Yes, your hand's up.
Okay, so question from the back. For the old people who who are over 40 and have families and everything, what is that term exactly like for? Like you used I promised James I was going to keep my language clean, so I don't know if the T word is if I'm allowed to say it in front of James. But that type of streamer, like, what is that? Because I really don't know what that is.
Depends. I mean, guys use it in different kind of forms. When I think of it as like the proper term, I think of a female who doesn't really do too much on their stream except for show off their body. Like there was a really funny clip of a girl, like the entire screen was her in like very low cut shirt, and her game that she was playing was like tiny and in the corner. Like it, when usually it's flipped. It's usually the game's big and the person's small. But again, like to me, like that's entertainment to some people, and Twitch is, for entertainment. So if you don't like it, don't watch it, don't sub to it. But some people do like that content, and that's what it's there for. Like, I don't judge anyone who does that kind of content. I think you should just mind your business if you don't like it. But again, for me to be, just categorize that as that because of one day I was wearing what I just wore normally. As a human being, I just got dressed and I came home and I decided to stream, and that was my label. But like I said, I don't think that is a gaming issue at all. I think it's our society, for sure. But I think that hopefully we're turning towards more positive times, and I think every year that goes by we get more and more aware and woke on situations, and I think it's gonna get better for sure.
I mean, on things like Twitch and YouTube, the ban button is usually pretty popular and suffice enough in situations like that. Most of those people, I think, especially like the guy reaching out to you, they just want a reaction a lot of times, which is almost more sad. So just moving on and letting it go probably hurts him more than you trying to fight back.
Oh yeah, I don't care. Like I said, like literally the day before, I had like 2 hoodies on because it gets really cold in my studio, like freezing. I had 2 hoodies on and a blanket while I was streaming. So like, but again, it shouldn't matter what I wear, regardless.
Yeah. Well,
Or you're
guys,
just a blanket streamer.
Oh,
I don't
man.
want to harp on this too much. We're going to try to flip this around and make this a little bit more positive. So we do want to talk about. I don't really know how to segue from something that's obviously very serious. I don't want to feel like we're glossing over it. It's a very serious issue, but I do want to have a little bit of fun on stream as well. And we do want to talk about what's the Valve Steam Deck. Now, for those that don't know, I just kind of want to give a synopsis for those listening. Most listeners know what a Nintendo Switch is. So it's your portable Nintendo system. They can also hook up to your TV. You can put a different controller. You can use what's called the Joy-Cons, little side controllers. And it plays mainly Nintendo games. And it plays what we like to call indie games, which are small development teams that make sometimes the cute games, the serious puzzle games, things like that. The Nintendo Switch for me is that's what I've used it for. Is more indie games than I have the actual Nintendo exclusives, the Marios, the Mario Kart, Zeldas, things like that. I love being able to take indie games, the 2 to 6 hour experience, take it on the road with me on the plane, do all that, and it's fun. Well, Steam, which is the PC, one of the main PC platforms to download your games on your computer, they have released their own version that kind of basically looks like a Switch. For those in the gaming know, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and go over too many of the specs because a lot of people listening are kind of learning. But it's a portable system. They've got 3 different versions, whether you want a 64 gigabyte storage, a 256 gigabyte storage, or a 512 gigabyte storage. And also, kind of each level comes with different kind of goodies, whether it's virtual, a different carrying case, and then the highest end one, the 512 gigabyte memory, is also a etched anti-glare screen, which is pretty popular for those that deal with the glare on their screens. The battery life is very similar to the Nintendo Switch, anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, depending on what game you're playing. And this is essentially a PC. Now, I know that the Nintendo Switch came out with this new, was it OLED type screen that is higher visuals and all this, and then it puts your games on your TV at like 1080p and things like that. So this Steam Deck will also port to your TV. You can dock it to your television. It is only a 720 to 800p gaming. So even if you dock it and you send it to your TV, from what I understand, this is only pushing out that level of graphics. Now, if you've got a small TV or a monitor, I'm going to be honest with you. For those that tell me I'm wrong, go see your eye doctor. On that small screen, you really can't, your eyes actually cannot tell the difference. So it's fine. When you start trying to blast it to your big screen TV, you're going to notice that it's only 720. But with that being said, this has your entire Steam library. This isn't a closed-off system like Nintendo. You don't just have a Nintendo store. You can wipe the memory on this thing. This is the developers telling you. This isn't people modding that know how to do all the technical things. You can literally erase the Steam store, and you can download Microsoft Windows and use it like a little mini computer. You can hook a keyboard and mouse up to it if you want. All these different things. So with that being said, not only do you have your Steam library, all these games. We just talked about Game Pass, and Game Pass going mobile. Now, the thing about Game Pass being mobile and in the cloud gaming is you're playing off your internet connection or your data, and a lot of times you're going to get a lot of latency. Well, now all of a sudden, Microsoft has this magical device that someone else is making that Game Pass can go on there, and guess what? You don't have to play from the cloud now. You can download your Game Pass games on that system, and you're going to be able to play. So your library has just gotten bigger. Your Steam library is huge. Now, to me, not just some of the high-end games on Steam, but what's interesting to me for the Steam Deck the most is I said the Nintendo Switch is used by someone like me to play indie games. You know what never goes on sale on the Nintendo Switch? An indie game. They're all $20 to $30. You know what goes on sale on the Steam store almost daily? Hundreds of indie games that drop from $15, $20 down to $1 to $5. It's incredible. So now all of a sudden, everything I use is that I would use it for travel is coming to me, and I can get games cheaper. the only thing this thing can't do that a Switch can do is play Nintendo exclusives. So I don't know if they're pulling it off. I mean, they're not even this thing is so powerful, Jay and Jordan. They're not even comparing it to the Nintendo Switch. Digital Foundry, which for people listening, Digital Foundry, if you ever go to digitalfoundry.com, they do a lot of stuff with gaming and movies and TV shows, and they just go over specs. They're all about the specs, frame rate and visuals, and they do this with everything. They're comparing it to the lower end Microsoft Xbox Series S, which is considered the entry level to next gen gaming. They're not even comparing this thing to the other handheld, what's considered their competition. They're comparing it to a box that's, a little bit bigger than a shoebox. Microsoft was able to get this thing down pretty small, but that's what they're comparing it to. And to me, that's a huge win for Valve. It's a huge win for gamers in general. The price point, I think, is about $100 more than the Nintendo Switch for the entry level, and of course it goes up depending on the storage level that you want. So it just kind of depends. Do you want to be the person that downloads 15 games to your Steam Deck, or do you want to be the person that has to delete and re-download every time you play a new game? So just kind of getting the entry out there. Before we go over to Jordan, because Jordan's more in the PC side of things now, she's PlayStation. Jay, your console, you've got the kids, right? And I know you have the Nintendo Switch. Does something like the Steam Deck that's going to... We talk about this all the time with the kids playing games. We talk about what else can they do while they're playing the game. What else can they get into? The modding. You're going to be able to do mods on this thing. Like, does something like the Steam Deck interest you as a parent for your kids because of the more things that they can do? Or is this kind of turn you off? It just seems like a cheap scam moneymaker. What's your thoughts?
No, this is daddy's handheld. This isn't for the kids. The kids can keep their Nintendo. It's nice and locked down. I mean, you can always make the argument going back and forth. It's the same thing with an iPhone. The iStore or App Store, whatever, is very locked down. It's very safe. Like, there's no gray area in which to go. It's the same thing with the Switch and everything. Dude, I'm probably going to get this over an Xbox. Just because of the portability and everything that goes along with it. I might keep the PlayStation console because, as I've said numerous times, until that thing starts to sound like it's a helicopter taking off, I'm keeping. But you have made a good point about. I mean, you're comparing it to the low-end entry Xbox. I can't take that with me on a road trip. I mean, I can. It's a big pain in the butt, but now I don't have to worry about it because really a lot of what I think that they're able to save on is if I'm going to be playing my Steam games, I'm going to be playing them on my laptop, which can throw it to my TV in 4K. I'm home. I don't care what it pushes out to a TV. However, I do care what games I can take with me. I love the fact that they're doing anti-glare glass. That is massive as well. I don't know why this hasn't become industry standard for more. But man, I might not be getting the Xbox. I might just be getting this in a Game Pass and just moving on.
Yeah, I can see that, and like we said, you can port this to your monitor, your TV, and play it like a mini PC, and then take your PlayStation controller, your Xbox controller, and just Bluetooth it right to it, and play games right off your monitor. Whether and for any parents that are listening, I know a lot of kids play, whether it's a Game Pass game, something like Minecraft Dungeons. You've got Roblox is a free-to-play game, which is huge for the kids. Just for any parent that's listening, that kind of interesting, but my kid plays Roblox that's a free-to-play game, fully wide open on the PC side of things. That's on something like this as well. So it definitely has a lot of pluses and minuses. I would assume no one's really talked about this, but with it being an open system, I would assume you could even watch your digital movies off of it if you could. I mean, I mean, if you can download Windows, you would have the Windows movie player. So you would have anything that you can have access to with a browser. As long as you've got an internet connection, you should be able to do it. And it's got enough storage space. Like, I download Netflix movies to my phone all the time. Yeah. So
you could download a ton of stuff. I mean, that's a lot of damn storage space for a small handheld device. If you start talking about the the big one. How much did you say it was? 512
it goes
gigs?
To 512 gigabytes for the high end one. Now they do say that even though the 64 gigabyte that's the low level price one, there is an SD slot. So the storage space
Get the hell out of here.
The storage space is
That's
SSD,
awesome.
but you can use the SD card slot to put any normal hard drives. You could put if you could find a small card, an SD card of a terabyte or whatever, you could drop that right in and you have extra storage space already. They're trying to make this as user friendly as possible. There was a lot of confusion. Now the controller side of it on the outsides, like the Nintendo Switch, they're like an Xbox controller. They're offset sticks. Now this is sticks that are side by side, kind of like a PlayStation controller, but right underneath them they've got these trackpads similar to the old Steam. And the other thing that's interesting, I'm gonna kind of describe this on video stream right now, but for those listening, when you play a game, and this couldn't be further from the truth when you're playing like a racing game. Jay or Jordan, you play some sort of racing game. How many times have you leaned your entire body with your controller and all this? This thing has the gyroscope in it, so if you're doing a racing game or something and you want that extra little, if your thumbs are on this, like, they know where your thumbs are and you turn it, moving the system in your hand can help turn a car or turn your whether you're doing a first person shooter or something, it does more turn for you. The specs and everything, again, like I said, if you're more interested in that, I definitely would say look up Digital Foundry or just the IGN articles. IGN.com did a huge rundown. They actually got to go and play it. They talk about games, they used some high-end games. They played the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is super high-end.
Wow.
Something like that I don't even think you can play that on the Switch. Like, it wouldn't run it. So, and this is running it. They said it looked great. They said it didn't feel janky or broken. And I mean, some people like the Witcher game, The Witcher 3. That's on Nintendo Switch. Anyone that knows what The Witcher 3 is will tell you right away, do not play it on the Nintendo Switch if it's something that you want to play for the first time. It is janky, it cuts in and out, the frame rates are gone. They're not having these issues already, and this thing isn't even released yet. So I think it's a huge win for them, and I do think I'm not going to say Nintendo has to worry, because I don't think Nintendo ever has to worry. They've got this system, and they've got these exclusives that are just... I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings on Xbox or Sony, but everyone talks about this console war between Microsoft and Sony constantly. They're not even in the same ballpark as Nintendo.
No, not at all.
Ever.
Everyone forgets Player 3 when they start talking like console sales. But James, okay, and Jordan too. Like, if I was to tell you,
I've been gone so long, I'm kind of like forgotten. You guys see this? It's James. Oh, and Jordan. She's here.
Wait, no. But if I was to tell you, like, look, 2.5 months ago, or 3 months ago, before this announcement, I'd be like, hey, you know what we should do? We should get a handheld controller that's basically like a Switch, except it can play Steam games. You can download Microsoft Windows to it. It also has more than enough memory. It's got anti-glare glass. It's got, gyroscopic controllers to it and blah, blah, blah. You'd be like, oh, man, that'd be really cool. Maybe they'll come up with something like that in the next few years.
Yeah, it's true. All right, so we're going to shut up, Jay, and give Jordan her space. Jordan, going from console, you told us before when we started this podcast, you've switched over to do a lot of PC gaming. You're huge with Valorant. And knowing that this Steam Deck, I know you're big with the mouse and keyboard, especially a game like Valorant. Like, you can't, they don't have controller support for that. Knowing that you can take this little Steam Deck and hook up a mouse and keyboard to it, even if you go on the go, does something like this appeal to you? Does it make you excited as a PC gamer to jump into a more mainstream market?
Hell yes. Sorry. Heck yes. Duh. This is I think this is going to dominate the industry. Honestly, I feel bad that I feel like PSP was so ahead of its time. Obviously, they didn't have the technology that we have now. But for real, I think that it was so ahead of its time. It's so sad that it didn't take off more. Because imagine if they did, then the newer versions would probably be like the Switch and all of this stuff, But anyways, duh. I mean, if you're not buying this and, you're into video games and stuff, I don't really know what you're doing. I think this is where the future is going, for sure.
Now, Jay, you're a little bit more on the tech side of things. Jordan's super excited about it. I will probably end up with one myself. But you mentioned the glass. I would say one of the only reasons to get the higher end one is now the storage unit. So just so you know, it's a 64 gigabyte eMMC NAND. So apparently, like, the loading of your games and stuff on the lower end one is slower. So for Jordan and Jay, you guys, you know how that goes with some of the stuff. Now the 256 and the 512 are both the NVMe, which is very similar to most PCs. It's a solid state drive, so that the loading is faster. And even on the 512, they're saying the loading is even faster. But the price jump is significant, Jay. How important is something like I've read that the etched glass is way better than just your standard, anti-glare glass. Is something like that really worth the big price jump, knowing that you can add extra storage yourself?
Well, I mean, it really depends on what you're using it for. If you're using it just to sit around the house because you don't want to have a computer set up, then maybe not. But like, I travel all the time, planes, cars, hotel rooms all the time. I'm outside. Everything like that. Like, anti-glare glass for me is huge, because there's nothing worse than like trying to do something and then having to like slowly rotate around or like try to find another place, or the light being too bright and it washing everything out that I'm trying to look at.
Wait. I mean, even if you're using this, like, even if you want to transition into PC gaming and you can't afford a PC, I'm sure this is going to be cheaper than trying to build your own PC or even some gaming laptops.
Jordan, so, I think that's something I want you to go in a little bit more for. You're jumping into a subject real quick here that I think that a lot of people listening that don't know that their kids may just have a Switch or just have a console, and they've said, how many kids have said, I really want a PC gaming, and a parent walks into a Micro Center or a Best Buy and they're like, $1,600 to have like a basic gaming, like, that freaks people out.
Yeah.
But we're talking if your kid just wants to see if they like. So here's the price differences. So Jordan, $399 for the 64 gigabyte, $529 for the middle one, $649 for the top one. So Jordan, what you're saying is for $399, if your kid says they're interested in PC gaming, you grab them a mouse and keyboard, a controller, you get them this, and they're off and running. And you'll find out. Do you think this thing has a life in it that's beyond just the portable side of thing, that does introduce a whole new generation of people to PC gaming on the cheaper way?
100%. I think, obviously I want to wait for reviews and things like that, but I think 100%. I think even if you have the capability to go to the higher end and you want to treat yourself, your family, your kids and stuff like that, getting like a monitor to go with it and stuff like that, so much cheaper. Mine, my gaming laptop, it's pretty good. I got it on Black Friday, so it was a deal, but I still ended up paying like $1,400 for it. And that's just like a gaming laptop. That is not a PC, So people always make fun of me for gaming on it. It is a good system, but personally, I would go for the higher end one.
And maybe this is just me kind of, hopes and dreams here, but you could really almost, if you have a kid that wants to do, PC gaming, plus you're sitting there like, man, I got to get him this, plus a Chromebook for school and everything else. If this really does have the ability to run Windows cleanly, you could do exactly what Jordan does. Get a secondary monitor, a laptop, and think, guess what? You now don't have to buy a laptop. Right. Because it really is rolling everything all into one, especially with the extended storage with them. I'm assuming it's a micro SD card, or is it just an SD card? Either way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the specs right offhand, but it's like I said, it's a lot. It's a deep dive into this. So,
but either way, that's still drop and go. You can just drop whatever information you need into this thing and just roll. And so, man, this is really. This is. And I know, James, you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then like the more and more like we talk about it and kind of work through it, like this is kind of a laptop replacement. If it's something where, your main driver isn't the graphics, because I know you're saying that, if you throw it up on your TV, you're going to get some of that distortion stuff. This is big time. This is massive. This could replace a Chromebook or an entry-level laptop.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't wipe it, don't do the Windows thing, you keep it on the Steam store. They've redesigned their Steam store to be very user friendly. People at IGN said I watched a lot of their videos. They deep dive into that. So to Jordan's point, I think being an entry level to PC gaming, I think it's a win-win for them. I don't see how it's a loss. I did see in one of the interviews the developer point blank said on the price they are taking a major loss on the price, but they said Valve is definitely a company like Microsoft that can take big hits on hardware and get it out there. They want to get this thing into people's hands, and they want to get it out there.
And all major manufacturers take a hit on the manufacturing. They're either operated a net zero or they're taking a hit just to kind of subsidize that unit getting out. So I mean, it's a good aggressive strategy. I mean, because you think about the level of technology and everything that's going into this. I mean, because this is a massive jump. Like this isn't like version 2 of something else or anything. Because I really don't think you can compare Switch and this particular Steam Deck. They're not really the same thing. The concept of a handheld device is the same, but damn, that's a big technology jump.
Yeah, Jordan, when you heard about this thing, were you kind of blown away? Did you think it was something not obtainable for the PC side, something that we're going to do? Were you just immediately excited? Were you skeptical? What was your first kind of thoughts?
I was excited. I was kind of surprised that they hadn't done something like this sooner. But my thing is, sometimes the longer it takes for them to develop something like this, the better it's going to be. So I really hope that they've just been putting in the time and the effort to make it, as seamless as possible. And like you guys said, if you are able to use your browser and stuff, because like I said, I mean, this could dominate the industry. Like I don't see people investing so much, at least at the start, like for their kids, buying PCs anymore. If this ends up being, all it's cracked up to be, I think that this is going to be the entry level, and then it's only if you stream or other things that you end up upgrading to a PC. And this might, be able to fix the GPU issues that everyone's been having, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I know it only kicks out 720 to 800p gaming, but again, on the portable side of things, it's going to look amazing. Your eyes physically cannot tell the difference on a screen that small. They say it all the time. It's got to be a big screen. And again, to Jay's point, just because it's not 4K looking beauty on your big 50-inch television or whatever you want to play it on, first of all, if you're trying to do anything competitive, you should definitely not play on a big TV. Jordan will tell you that. Jay will tell you that. I'll tell you that. When I went from a TV to playing Call of Duty on a monitor, even it's the advantage is unreal. But it's going to run smooth. And that, to me, is the most important thing. It might not be 4K. Do you want 4K 30 frames per second, or you want 720 to 120 frames per second? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to run super smooth. It's definitely one of those pieces of hardware with the Switch being out there and being successful and being closed off. I don't think Valve puts this out there if they think it's going to fail. They put out probably the best VR headset. Yes, it's super expensive, the Valve Index or whatever, with the fingers moving and all that. And then they made the best VR game with the not Half-Life 3. Speaking of Half-Life, now that they're putting this out there, bringing PC gaming to the masses, Jordan, I don't know, with you being younger, if you understand the saga behind the Half-Life series. But Jay...
By the way, guys, we missed to hydrate. Y'all better hydrate.
We definitely need to... I need some water. But Jay, before I drink, I'm going to let you answer this since Jordan doesn't know. With them putting out this stupid hardware and getting more people involved in PC gaming and Valve in general, will they finally make the stupid game Half-Life 3?
Can they just give the people what they want? Damn it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I poop on Xbox on a semi-regular basis. We all still wanted Halo. We got another damn Halo. Resident Evil. How many times did they rehash Resident Evil? Like, give the people what they want. Stop beating around the bush and just do the damn thing.
Yeah, Jordan, if you ever get a chance, you should definitely, as a PC gamer now, you should definitely go back and try to play the Half-Life series. But Half-Life 2 is one of those games that ends on a huge cliffhanger in the story. that has never
Okay.
been resolved.
Oh.
Ever.
Sad.
And it's like this great, I would say it kind of leads into the way Mass Effect tells stories and things like that. Like, it set the groundwork for story-driven games like that. And to just leave on this huge cliffhanger. And then, of course, like I said, they made the VR game, which was a prequel, Half-Life Alyx. They've done all these little things around Half-Life instead of just making the sequel to it. I mean, the problem I do see from the developer side. It's like anything, right? It has gone on so long, they almost can't get it. They will not.
Yeah, you
It
can't
will
live
not.
up to it.
They'll never. The game will never live up to the hype. That's the problem. Like, no matter what no matter what that follow up to that cliffhanger is, they're doomed. They're just absolutely doomed. The whole world's gonna kill them. Jay, I did look this up. It does say a micro SD slot is what they use, and I do have someone, Todd L in chat, says hope it can run 5M. I'm glad you have the same look, because I'm not sure. Jordan, do you know what 5M is? Yep.
No.
Yep. So,
Yes.
Todd, if you're still in the chat and you wanna clarify it, you got two old people in here, and Jordan was our only hope to
You know what?
to fill that gap.
You know
like to
what?
point out
The
that it's
power
taken-
of Google is amazing. You know.
Jordan is
I'd
our.
like to point out too, it's taken
Yeah, I'm glad
18
that some-
episodes for someone to finally stump us.
Yeah, it's true. Even Kia Kane jumps in and says, "What is 5M?" Kia, listen, you could have saved the podcast if you would have asked that question before we made fools of ourselves. Oh, okay. So Todd says it's a GTA role play server. It's a mod for GTA.
I literally
okay,
just
gotcha.
looked it up as he said that. That's so
Todd,
funny.
from watching the IGN videos and the interviews with the developers at Valve, they said it will run mods. So
Yeah, but what?
I mean, I guess if I don't know what it takes to run that mod for GTA, but if it meets all the specs, I mean, I'll read them off for you real quick, Todd, if you want to know. It's got AMD Zen 2, 4 cores, 8 threads. 2.4 gigahertz to 3.5 gigahertz is the CPU frequency. The GPU architecture is an RDNA2. The GPU frequency is 1.0 gigahertz to 1.6. The teraflops is 1 to 1.6 teraflops. The memory is a 16 gigabyte LPDDR5. The storage, we talked about the 64 gig, the 256, the 512. Steam operating system and a 20 watt is included for the max power. So I guess if that mod can be run on those specs, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to run it. I mean, they've said it's not a closed off thing. Now it does run, it's Linux based, but it's their own system. It says Valve Solutions is a beefed up version of Proton, a collection of technologies including WINE and DXVK that reinterpret Windows code to run on Linux.
Yeah, if it's running on that, you're going to see all kinds of
Linux,
really creative people like get involved, because that's all open source code. This thing could be launching missiles and running Bitcoin farms and everything else when it finally gets into people's hands. I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to answer Todd's question, they were pretty open, saying it can. It is a PC. They said numerous times, anytime a question came up, that it just sounded, they would always answer it with, if you can do it on a PC, you can technically do it on here. So, like I said, you can wipe everything completely clean and download Windows on it if you want, and then launch everything from Windows if that's what you want to do. And that's not, some modder saying, oh, we got this in our hands and we were able to people take the phones and people have videos on YouTube how they take an iPhone and put the Android store on there instead of it being an Apple. Basically, it's a Samsung product now, even though it's an iPhone. And it's just you go in, you clean the OS, and you download whatever you want on it. So
But does that mean you have to clean it out to download whatever? Like, you can't use it for both? Is that what they're trying to say when they?
Well, my guess would be is you wouldn't be able to have their Steam store for the memory that it would take up.
You can't have two operating systems on it. So the Windows or Linux would be the two operating systems for it, and that's usually what you've either got a Windows-based computer, you've got Mac, or you've got the other one. So it's just because you can't run two operating systems at the same time, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, that seems how they answer it. Like I said, anyone who wants to know a little bit more into it, like I said, I highly recommend jumping into the IGN First videos. They hands-on, tons of interviews with the developers of the system, and they were showing gameplay right there. And like I said, showing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order alone, that game is super demanding, and it was running it perfectly fine. So hope everyone got a little bit out of that. I know some people were asking about it, and I just want people to be excited in the industry, and I want, like I said, it didn't even cross my mind. Jordan, I think, makes the greatest point tonight for parents that are listening. If you have kids constantly asking about getting into PC gaming to do it properly, and for their computer to run properly, and you not to have to like take it to the Geek Squad every week because something's not working, this is going to be so much more user friendly for them. But it is PC gaming. It'll be super easy. Someone at Best Buy will probably be able to help you explain how you take a dongle and dock. Now, I will say, Valve, there is going to be a dock. Like the Nintendo Switch can go into that dock that goes to your TV. There will be a dock, but it isn't out yet, and they don't have a price for it yet, and it is sold separately. I have a feeling if them saying that, you're probably looking at anywhere from $100 to $300 price range. I'm guessing
Worth it.
That would be worth it, but it is super easy just to get a USB-C dongle. They point blank said you don't need that dock. You can just USB-C dongle into it and get your HDMI connections off that. They said it's super plug and play. Like I said, I think Jordan is the winner tonight on what this thing should be used for, and I think entry level into PC gaming at a lower cost, just the $399. Get a micro SD card if you just don't have the money to drop, but your kids are adamant they want this. I think this is a great way to introduce them to see if they like it, and if as they grow, for you parents out there that don't know a lot about gaming, I know some of the parents that do listen do know they have kids that build their own PC. I promise you, if your kid likes PC gaming, they're probably going to want to save their allowance and their money, and they're probably going to build their own PC anyways. So, yeah. But this is such a cheaper way for them to get into the system, play the games that they want to play with their friends, have all the different ways to play, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg on top of it. I mean, it's cheaper than an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, believe it or not, if you want the entry level, and has a way much larger library of games. So with that being said, I don't want this to go on too long. I do want to make an announcement. I haven't heard. Let me double check just in case she responded. But a couple of episodes ago, we did an episode from Sheila Hageman about her article about getting kids back outside who had been stuck in too much screen time. They've been stuck inside. How do you get your kids wanting to be active again? She reached out to us, listened to our podcast, watched the video form. It's on YouTube under Last Choice Network. If anyone wants to look up all of our episodes, or on any podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to, Stitcher, all the different ones. She loved the episode, said she'd be willing to come on and speak with us, so I'm going to do my best to have Sheila on as a guest next week. We're going to do kind of a follow-up episode to that. So for those that just have questions, or even some of the things that Milena was talking about last week, Sheila would be a great source to follow up on some of these things. You know, what are some key ways to get my kids interested to go back outside? Is it a problem if they did find maybe they weren't gamers before, maybe they're big gamers now and they built this community of friends, and you know, is that harming to them? If you want more of a professional opinion versus just us, hopefully we'll have her on. So before we say goodbye, I want to go around the room real quick. Jay, we didn't get a chance before the show, but are the Idaho Horsemen, what's going on with your team? I think high school football starting soon.
Yeah, let's talk high school football. It didn't go well for us yesterday. We actually dropped our second game, so we're still kind of in the driver's seat. But in order for us to be able to host home and home playoff games. We have to win the last two. And then you're right, high school football starting up. We're in the middle of a no contact period until August 9th, and then after that, I will be coaching football from approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 9:30 at night between the two teams for the first until September. So it'll be fun. Lots of football in my future.
Nice. Now, Jordan, what about you? You finally made the move. You're got this setup, this amazing setup. I see you there. That Jay.
Love your background, by the way.
Yeah, your background's amazing. So, what are you playing? Are you still on the Valorant kick? What's going on? Where can people find you? I know you're trying to make the big push back into streaming full time now that you've gotten a little bit settled. Well, where can everyone find you at?
Yes, I'm Alexis Jordan 98 on both TikTok and Twitch. Those are my main social media accounts if you want to check me out. Yeah, I'm going to be streaming full time, so it's going to be anywhere from 4 to 6 days a week. You can catch me watching Valorant mostly. I have jumped a little bit back into Dead by Daylight. I don't play it too often, but I am going to try out different first-person shooters depending on what my viewers like. We always have time, so oh god, I'm scared for Warzone, but maybe.
Well, sorry.
So for me,
sorry,
like I said, I am pretty soon probably gonna unfortunately leave the Twitch platform behind completely, switch everything over to YouTube. So YouTube, Last Choice Network. I hope you guys will come and at least join us for the podcast that we're gonna continue to be doing. Just with all of our content over there, with what we want to do with the Last Choice Network channel, it's just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it's just a little bit easier for me to just have one. We are 3 people. We all have other lives and other jobs and things that we do, and it's really hard to keep up with kind of just a lot of times myself doing it. So we do have some Let's Play going up with, like I said, me and Master of Shadows from A Way Out, and we've got different shorts, some Warzone clips. You'll see me streaming Warzone, and me, Jay, and Wright constantly doing nothing but screaming at each other. But lately, and this could be the we might bridge the gap here, Jordan, where we might start playing together. A brand new game that had been out. I think it's been out on PC for a while, but we just got it to console. I am playing on my PC now because I can use controller, but we noticed it because it showed up on the Xbox store. It's called Splitgate, and I'm not joking. It's literally, if you like the game Portal and you like the game Halo, if those two had a baby, that's what this game is. It is literally Halo plus Portal equals Splitgate. You make little portals that you can jump through and shoot people. The guns, I kid you not, they're literally an assault rifle, a battle rifle, the pistol, the sniper rifle. They all look like Halo weapons. Your character looks like a Master Chief. Like, it's crazy. But
Did you get the sword?
No, they have a BFB, which is a baseball bat that looks like something Negan was using from The Walking Dead. It is.
It's free. The beta is free on
Steam. It is a free-to-play game. It is I'm not joking. This is a 4-person development team. They did not think their game was going to be this popular. The game has become so popular that they actually had to shut down their servers because their servers only held 65,000 concurrent people. That's how small this team is. They're already trying to hire to keep up with the demands. The gunplay runs super smooth. It's incredible how smooth the gunplay is. I'm blown away at how smooth just the game in general runs. If you haven't tried it, like Jordan said, it's a free-to-play game, guys. Show these guys some love. Try out their game. If you don't like it, it's okay. Move on. Go back to playing League of Legends or Dead by Daylight or whatever more dumb, lame games you're playing. Valorant.
Wow! Wow! Oh my god. Ignore this man.
But it is a lot of fun. So you can see me streaming that this week. I will probably stream some tonight after this episode. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming out. We love having you, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have Sheila on. Have a good night, guys. Bye.